guys, so for day 24 of Halloween nail designs, I'm doing a neon Halloween set. So to start off, I'm just taking the black from Ball Pit and I'm painting all of the nails with this, and I did 2 coats of this and I cured each coat for 60 seconds. Okay, so little story here on this video, which I'm really annoyed about this video because of this whole situation. I filmed this video, and then when I transferred it over to my computer and then started editing it, I realized that I didn't record me painting the middle nail, which is like the bat French tip design. And then I also realized that I didn't record the most important part of this whole entire video, which was applying the neon pigment powders onto the nails, which is, the whole point of this entire video, because this is a neon Halloween set. So because those 2 parts weren't included in the video, I went ahead and refilmed this entire video. Sorry. I went in and I refilmed this entire video. If I would have just not filmed the bat French tip part, I wouldn't have bothered with refilming, but because I didn't film the neon pigment powder part of the video, I was like, I need to redo this whole video because, like I said, that's the most important part of this entire video. So I filmed it, got it all redone, and then I transferred that video over to my computer. And once I transfer the videos over to my computer, I delete them off my phone because I just don't have enough space on my phone to keep the videos. Like, once they're over to the computer, I'm like, it's good, it's fine. They're on the computer, I can delete them off my phone. I don't need to worry about it anymore. So deleted it off my phone. Both videos are deleted off my phone. And I went in to delete the original video that I had filmed, where I didn't film painting the middle nail and I didn't film the pigment powder portion of the video either. And I accidentally deleted the redo video where everything was filmed. So now the video that you're seeing is the original one, where it has a bunch of stuff missing out of it, and I am so annoyed. I could have went and filmed this video again for the 3rd time, but honestly, I just did not have time to do that in order to get it all edited and everything in time, along with getting all of the other videos edited and up on time and everything. I just didn't have the time to film this video for a 3rd time and do all that. So you're getting the original video that I filmed, and I apologize for this. There's a lot missing out of it, but I will do my best to explain everything to where it'll make sense, hopefully. So anyhow, after getting all of the nails painted black and cured, I did wipe them off with some alcohol to remove the sticky layer, because like I always say, whenever doing nail art on the nails, you want to wipe that sticky layer off because it kind of acts similarly to a blooming gel. It doesn't cause the polish to spread as much as a blooming gel would, but enough to where your lines look a little blown out and distorted. So now I'm just taking the white from Ball Pit, because this has a sticky layer once it's cured, and I'm going to be using the pigment powders, and the pigment powders stick to that sticky layer. I have seen people say or use like a matte top coat to do that, but also that's kind of like if you're doing like an aura nail or like doing the entire nail. Anyhow, never mind, forget the matte top coat thing. I'm just using the white polish, because like I said, it has that sticky layer and the pigment powders are going to stick to that. On this nail, as well as one of the other nails, I don't remember which one, I did a spider web design. So I just did like the vertical line going straight down the nail, and then the horizontal line going across the nail, and then the little diagonal lines to create like the X's through the middle there. And now I'm just going in and doing those little swooped connecting lines to create the spider web look. And to do this spider web, I'm using a 15mm liner brush. Whenever I do spider webs, I do prefer to use a longer brush. And the size kind of depends on the size of the nail. Like if I was doing a much shorter nail, I could have used a 12mm liner brush, but because this is a longer nail, I did go in with the 15mm, just because I feel like it's easier to get thinner lines with it if I needed, which I tend to do these like swooped connecting lines thinner than like the rest of the lines. And I just feel like it's easier to do that with a longer liner brush. And I personally just like how it looks a little better whenever I do it with a longer liner brush versus a shorter liner brush, but you can use whatever size brush you want, and like whatever size you're comfortable with. But after I got the spider webs painted on, I did cure those for 60 seconds. I still can't believe that I deleted the video, the second video that I recorded for this set. Like, I'm so annoyed with myself. But also, I am low-key not surprised, because I'm like, with as many videos as I was filming and how quickly I was trying to get them done, and like transferring everything and making sure that everything was transferred over, and like having to delete it off my phone so I could go in and film other videos, and like making sure I had all the pictures and like finishing clips and everything. It does get a little hectic and can be a little confusing, and like double checking to make sure everything is right and you have things where they need to be can be a little hectic. And I was like, there was bound to be a mistake made somewhere at some point when I was doing all of this, and this video, this set was the mistake from the start, because, you know, I didn't film half of what I was supposed to film with it, and then I refilmed it and then deleted the refilmed video, and it was just a mess. Also, with this original one, you can see here on this nail, there was some wrinkling on a couple of the nails because I did the layer a little too thick, so it didn't cure properly. So that was also a mess up on this set here, which I wasn't concerned about it being wrinkled or anything, because these aren't going to be worn by anyone except for me for all of about 2 minutes while I take some pictures and like my finishing shots and everything. And then I was just going to throw those wrinkled ones out because like I said, that's uncured gel under there. But if you were to be doing this on someone else, or you're doing these on press-ons for someone to wear, you'd want to redo this entire nail. Like, you'd want to throw this nail out, or like buff off all of the polish and then repaint it in a thinner layer to make sure that everything was completely cured, because you don't want uncured gel on your nails. Even if it's not touching your skin and it's just on the nails, like, it does leach and it can get onto your skin. So yeah, but like I said, I wasn't concerned with it at the moment, because like I said, they were just gonna be on for a couple seconds and then I was gonna throw them out. And I did actually end up throwing out this entire set because it was just a hot mess anyhow, and I kept the second set, which actually you'll see the second set at the very end in the finishing shot. But yeah, I have the second set still, but the first set I threw away because it was wrinkled and messed up. So there you can see off to the side the little bat French tip nail that I did and didn't record. Thankfully, I do have other videos on my channel where I do the bat French tip. Even from this month, I do have other ones that I'll have up that have the bat French tip as well. So you can go and find those on my channel if you want to know how to do the bat French tip nails. So that's why I was like, I'm not gonna bother re-recording it if that was the only part that wasn't in, because like I said, I do have other videos showing how to do that. And then on the last two nails, I just did some drips. So I did them how I always do them. I start out with my dotting tool, do the dot, and then drag it up, and then I go in with a liner brush, which this is a 9mm liner brush, which is like my go-to liner brush for doing almost all my nail art. And just going in and like doing the finishing touches on them, so like connecting them with those like curved lines so they actually look like they're dripping down from one point, and then filling in the top half of that. Honestly, I could have taken the brush straight from the bottle and filled that top half in, but I already had this brush in hand and I didn't feel like putting it down and then grabbing the brush out of the bottle, so I just filled it in with this brush. And like I said, I did that on the last two nails, the pointer and the ring there, it looks like. And then after I got the drips all done, I did cure for a full 60 seconds. And then same with the bat nail, after I got it done, cured that for a full 60 seconds. And then after everything was cured, I just took this little like makeup brush that I have. I think it's like an eyeshadow brush or something. I don't know. I got it years ago from Target. It's one of those cheap elf brushes. It was like, I think it was like $1 when I bought it. I've had it for years, and I've done several other videos where I use the neon pigment powders, and I've shown the brush before and showed the actual process of me putting the pigment powders on the nail. So again, if you really want to know how I go about doing the pigment powders and want to see how I do them, I do have other videos on my channel where I use the pigment powders. This video unfortunately is a hot mess and doesn't have that part, but anyhow, I just take the pigment powders that I'm using. I have a couple different sets of these neon pigment powders. I have the ones that you're gonna see in this video are ones that I got from Amazon years ago. Like, they're so old. I barely use these neon pigment powders, so they last for a long time for me since I barely use them. But I also have another set that my mom got me last year, I think, for my birthday. From Temu, or maybe it was Christmas. I don't know. It was either my birthday or Christmas. She got them for me, off of Temu. So you can get neon pigment powders from pretty much anywhere that sells nail supplies, and you can get them for relatively cheap too. But like I said, the ones that I'm using are from Amazon. They come in like that stack of connected containers, which I low-key kind of don't like. I prefer individual containers because the powder gets stuck to the underside of the little container, and then it just creates a whole mess. But anyhow, I just picked out the colors that I wanted. I used pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And I've mentioned this before, whenever I do a neon like rainbow design, I like to use pink instead of red. I just feel like it looks a little better when it comes to the neon colors. Also, neon pink or neon orange and neon red can sometimes look very similar, so it gets a little confusing and kind of looks like you only used one color. But mainly just because I feel like the neon pink looks better with the neon rainbow over a red, even if it is a neon red. So I used those colors, and I just went in and dipped my brush into the colors that I used, and then I kind of dabbed it off on the paper towel to remove any excess, and then tapped it onto the nail so it will stick into the sticky layer on the polish, and then I kind of brush it off on the paper towel to remove that previous color that I used, dipped it into the next color, dabbed off any excess, then pressed it onto the nail, and just repeated that process until I got all of the colors on the nail. And then I take a fan brush and just dust off all the excess powder that is left on the nail. That way there's not a whole bunch of powder all over the nail, and what's left behind is just what is stuck onto that sticky layer of the white gel polish, which is also another reason why you want to make sure, if you're using these pigment powders, to remove the sticky layer of your base color. If you're not putting the powders all over the nail and you're just doing like a certain design, you do want to make sure that there's not a sticky layer on the background of your nail. Otherwise you're going to have pigment powders stuck all to them. And then once I got all of that on the nail, I'm just taking my LGN shiny top coat and top coating the nails. And I've never had an issue with having fallout from the powders contaminating my top coats. Like, it always sticks really well after making sure that all the excess is dusted off and everything. But if you do experience the pigment powders getting into your polish or on your brush, just wipe it off on a lint-free wipe before you stick it back into the bottle, so that way you're not contaminating your top coat. And this is the finished result from the first set that I did. So this is the original set that I did. You can't really see that wrinkling anymore after I added the top coat, but like I said, you do not want that wrinkling. Make sure you fix that before doing anything else. And I was really happy with this set. It came out really well. The colors are really nice. And I was happy with it. At this point, I didn't know that I hadn't filmed, over half the video. So I'm sitting here thinking, like, this was great. Everything turned out great, other than the little bit of wrinkling that I had. No big deal. It's fine. And then, yeah, when I got this uploaded onto my computer is when I realized that it was just a disaster. But the set itself is really pretty, and I do really like it. I'm really happy with it. This is a great set for, like, if you want a Halloween set, but you don't want, like, the classic Halloween colors and you want something a little more bright and fun. Like, this is something that you could do. And then this next clip here, this right here is the second set that I did. The colors are a little brighter than the original one. So these Temu pigment powders pack a little more of a punch than those Amazon ones did, which was really interesting to me. But again, I really love this set. I love how both of them came out. I wish I would have not been a ding dong and deleted, you know, the second one, so you could see the whole process of how this entire set was filmed. But, you know, unfortunately I'm a dummy and did stupid things. But anyhow, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.